Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. New York. Manhattan. The skyscrapers reflected the last rays of the sun, like golden flames on the concrete. In one of Wall Street's most prestigious offices, Olivia Bennet, a billionaire known for her bold investments, walked through the doors of Stanton & Company, the bank that managed several of her funds. Her perfectly tailored suit and determined gaze spoke of a woman who had weathered many storms to get here. Behind the desk, Ethan Caldwell, an arrogant young banker from an influential family, adjusted his cuffs as he watched Olivia. As soon as she spoke to discuss a multi-million-dollar strategic partnership, he interrupted, corrected her, and delivered his remarks with a mixture of condescension and barely veiled contempt. "I don't see how we could collaborate," he said, crossing his arms. "Your proposals seem naive." Olivia felt her cheeks heat, but she kept her anger in check. She had faced far more formidable opponents than this arrogant man, and she knew that losing her temper would be her only mistake. "I advise you to leave," Ethan concluded, his voice cold and his smile intended to be triumphant. Without a word, Olivia stood up, calmly placed her documents on the table, and left the office. Outside, in the bright hallway, her heart was pounding, not with fear, but with silent rage. She had just realized something: Ethan had underestimated Olivia Bennet, and that mistake would soon backfire on him. In the world of finance, power wasn't measured solely in money. It was measured in strategy, patience, and the ability to turn humiliation into resounding victory. Olivia had it all. And the game had only just begun. Olivia Bennet walked into her lavish Upper East Side office, where the walls were decorated with contemporary paintings that reflected her success and taste for refinement. Her assistant, Marcus, a quiet but remarkably intelligent man, immediately noticed her withdrawn expression. "Is something wrong, Olivia?" he asked cautiously. She calmly placed her bag on the chair and sat down. Her eyes, shining with determination, stared at the wall without really seeing it. "That young banker, Ethan Caldwell, he humiliated me today." His voice was cold, almost icy, but every word vibrated with suppressed anger. Marcus nodded, immediately understanding that the situation wasn't just personal. In the business world, public humiliation could turn into a strategic disaster. Olivia stood up and began to walk slowly around her office, thinking about every move. "He thinks I'm naive, that he can reduce me to a mere customer. He's sorely mistaken." She began to mentally make a list. His past mistakes in business. The clients he mismanaged. The risky decisions he had made that had cost the bank. She knew that to retaliate, anger or immediate revenge was not enough. It required a methodical, precise, almost scientific plan. "We're going to do something more powerful than a confrontation," Olivia whispered, almost to herself. "We're going to show him that you don't play games with Olivia Bennet." Marcus smiled slightly. "I'm guessing you're talking about strategy, not revenge, right?" Olivia turned to him, a cold smile playing on her lips. "The best revenge, Marcus, is to win where he failed. And trust me, he'll never see it coming." And so began Olivia's silent rage, anger meticulously crafted into a plan of attack, ready to strike where Ethan Caldwell least expected. The next morning, Olivia woke with a clear and determined mind. The anger that had consumed her the day before had transformed into a cold, strategic energy. She knew she had to act quickly. In her office, surrounded by screens displaying graphs and financial reports, Olivia began to analyze in detail Stanton & Company. Every document, every transaction, every failed partnership became a valuable clue for her. It was then that she made a surprising discovery: several of the bank's recent investments, overseen by Ethan, were at risk. Reckless decisions in volatile markets had exposed the bank to heavy losses. Olivia smiled, a calculating smile. "Ethan thinks he's invincible, but he's already started to crumble." She called Marcus to discuss this new opportunity. "Marcus, listen carefully," she said, typing on her keyboard, displaying the problematic transactions. "If we play our cards right, we could not only get our money back, but also turn the tables on him. Marcus, always calm and analytical, nodded. You're talking about creating a competing fund or quietly acquiring some key clients, right? Olivia nodded. Exactly. But we have to stay in the shadows. We can't make it seem like personal revenge. Everything has to seem natural, strategic, flawless. Over the next few days, Olivia and Marcus worked tirelessly. They identified the bank's most valuable clients and began discreetly approaching them, offering more favorable terms and personalized services that Stanton and Company could not match. Little by little, deals began to change hands. The most influential clients were murmuring about this innovative new strategy, while Ethan, always confident, didn't understand what was happening. The stage was set. Olivia's revenge was silent but unstoppable. Every calculated move brought Ethan closer to a public humiliation he could never have imagined. Olivia knew it wasn't enough to expose Ethan or the bank's flaws. For revenge to be complete, she had to act with finesse and strategy, almost like a chess master. She began by arranging private meetings with key clients of Stanton and Company. Prestigious CEOs, investors, and partners were approached by Marcus and his team under neutral pretenses, without ever revealing the true motivation behind their attention. Each meeting was carefully orchestrated. Olivia listened carefully to each client's needs. It offered personalized solutions, adapted to the risks and ambitions of each. His offers were not only more advantageous financially, but also more strategic in the long term. Gradually, some clients began to question their loyalty to Stanton and Company. Ethan, on the other hand, remained confident, convinced that his position and arrogance would be enough to maintain control. He was completely unaware that every decision he made weakened his bank and strengthened Olivia's position. One evening, Olivia and Marcus found themselves late in his office, surrounded by documents and financial charts. "You see, Marcus," she said, pointing to some transactions, "these clients we approached represent over 30% of the bank's strategic revenue. If we can convince them to transfer even a portion of their funds, Ethan will never know what hit him." Marcus nodded. "Everything has to be kept discreet. If he suspects something, he might react and complicate our plan." Olivia smiled coldly. "And that's exactly why everything has to look natural. Like it's all a coincidence. Like Stanton and Company are destroying themselves." So, without making the slightest noise, Olivia puts his silent plan into place. Every move, every negotiation, every studied smile brought Ethan closer to disaster. The humiliation he had inflicted on Olivia would soon backfire on him, and the whole world would find out. A few weeks later, the effects of Olivia's plan began to be felt. Some of Stanton and Company's influential clients began shifting their investments to her new funds, attracted by safer and more profitable offerings. Ethan Caldwell, ever arrogant, noticed the first signs of concern. Anonymous financial reports, unexpected questions from loyal customers, and rumors circulating in the bank's corridors were putting him on edge. But he refused to believe that anyone could actually stand up to him. One morning, while scanning his emails, Ethan saw several notifications. Major clients had cancelled meetings with him and requested to meet directly with Olivia Bennett. His jaw tightened. "Impossible," he muttered incredulously. Meanwhile, Olivia, in her office, calmly observed the financial movements. Every transfer of funds, every contract change confirmed that her strategy was working. She left nothing to chance. Her teams, under Marcus's direction, had planned every detail: how to approach clients, how to address their concerns, how to make the offer irresistible without Stanton and Company suspecting anything. During a strategy meeting with a European partner, Olivia smiled to herself when she saw Ethan appear in the lobby of her building. He was desperate to understand what was happening, but it was already too late. That first silent retort had planted the first seed of panic in the arrogant young banker's mind. Olivia knew it was only the beginning. The humiliation she had suffered in person would soon turn into a public disaster for Ethan, and no one in the financial world would be able to ignore it. A few weeks later, Olivia Bennett was invited to speak at a major international economic conference in New York. Bank executives, investors, and journalists were present, each curious to know the secrets of Olivia's success. From the moment she took the stage, her charisma commanded silence. She spoke confidently about innovative investment strategies, international partnerships, and long-term visions for the financial market. Every word was calculated, every example carefully chosen. Then came the decisive moment. Olivia announced a major partnership with several Asian and European companies, a massive project that would reshape key sectors of the economy. The media immediately took notice, and photographers' flashbulbs were blazing. In the audience, Ethan Caldwell, present to represent Stanton and Company, felt a shudder of disbelief. The murmurs around him were growing louder. Some of the bank's clients seemed enthusiastic about Olivia, others were already talking about transferring their funds to her new projects. Olivia concluded her speech with a sentence that resonated throughout the auditorium. In this world, underestimating someone because they look different, or because they don't fit your prejudices, can be costly. True power lies in strategy and respect. Ethan felt his confidence crumble. The arrogant, self-assured man who had humiliated Olivia a few weeks earlier finally realized he had been completely underestimated. His face paled as reporters approached him for reactions. This conference marked a turning point. Olivia had not only gained the upper hand over Ethan, she had publicly asserted his power and influence in the financial world. The humiliation of the past was about to become a resounding defeat for the one who had underestimated her. After the conference, Olivia Bennet's reputation skyrocketed. Financial newspapers ran glowing articles about her bold strategy and her ability to turn a difficult situation into a triumph. Every headline seemed designed to humiliate Ethan Caldwell without her having to lift a finger. Tensions quickly mounted at Stanton and Company. Influential clients, seduced by Olivia's favorable terms, began transferring their funds. The bank's directors were perplexed and desperately searching for answers. Ethan, meanwhile, watched his career crumble before his eyes, unable to understand how Olivia could have orchestrated all of this with such mastery. Olivia, ever calm, continued her quiet approach. She organized strategic meetings with major investors and corporate partners, while keeping her true intentions completely concealed. Every decision was meticulously planned to maximize the impact on Stanton and Company. One evening, while she was having dinner with Marcus, she explained. Every move should feel natural. Customers should believe they are making the decision on their own. But in reality, they are guided by our strategy. Marcus nodded. You're creating a domino effect, Olivia. Every client who joins us weakens Stanton and Company, and there's nothing Ethan can do to stop it. Olivia smiled coldly. Exactly. And when the final blow is struck, Ethan will realize too late that he underestimated not only my skill, but also my patience. A few days later, the first signs of panic appeared in Ethan's office. Money transfer reports, persistent calls from clients, and whispers from the financial press overwhelmed him. For the first time, he understood that he was no longer in control of the situation. Olivia had knocked without showing her cards, and her return of the masterstrokano placed her in an undisputed position of power. Ethan's humiliation, though silent until now, would soon become public, and this time, it would be total. A few days after the conference, Olivia Bennet decided it was time to accelerate the process. Her silent plan had weakened Ethan Caldwell and Stanton and Company, but the final touch had to be personal and strategic. She arranged to meet with Ethan in one of the bank's private lounges, ostensibly to discuss a potential partnership. Ethan, always arrogant, thought he could regain control of the situation. Olivia, he began, trying to hide his nervousness. Don't cut me off this time, Ethan, she replied calmly, crossing her arms. Her gaze was piercing, and for the first time, Ethan felt the weight of the situation. Olivia smiled slightly, almost mockingly. You judged me based on your prejudices and arrogance. You humiliated me without even understanding who I was. Ethan stiffened, feeling the blow coming. But you know what I've been doing all this time? Olivia continued. I've invested wisely, strengthened my position, and, quietly, acquired a significant stake in your bank. Ethan blanched. W.H. What? Correct, she said calmly. I now own enough shares to influence key decisions. And guess what? Your disastrous management and arrogance precipitated your own downfall. He tried to protest, to find a way out, but Olivia continued. You thought this humiliation would remain silent, that your mistakes would go unnoticed. But everything is under control. Every client you lost, every decision you made wrong, it was all meticulously orchestrated so that you would finally realize the extent of your mistake. Ethan, for the first time, felt his world crumble. The woman he had underestimated, whom he had believed to be naive and weak, now held the power to remove him from office and reorganize the bank as she saw fit. Olivia stood up, majestic and implacable. It's over, Ethan. You had your chance. And now you must face the consequences of your arrogance. The revelation came as a shock. Ethan realized that his humiliation was not just personal, but that it was public, strategic and irreversible. The news spread quickly through the financial world. Olivia Bennet now owned a significant stake in Stanton & Company and had the authority to influence key decisions. Clients, investors, and even the media realized that the arrogant young banker had underestimated Olivia to her detriment. Ethan Caldwell, faced with this reality, tried to repair his mistakes. He held numerous meetings, tried to reassure clients and regain control, but each attempt seemed to fail. Those who had supported him until then gradually drifted away, seduced by Olivia's strategy and professionalism. The board of directors, alerted by the bank's declining financial results and instability, called an emergency meeting. Olivia, as an influential shareholder, was present, calm and confident. Ethan, the chairman began, it's clear that your recent decisions have put Stanton & Company in difficulty. For the good of the bank, we must consider a change in leadership. Ethan felt a chill run through him. Every word sounded like a verdict. His mistakes, his arrogance, and his humiliating behavior toward Olivia were now known to everyone who mattered in the industry. The board voted unanimously to remove him. Ethan, stunned, had no choice but to accept his downfall. The bank he thought he dominated was now beyond his reach. Olivia, however, remained implacable. She knew that the humiliation had not only been personal, it was to serve as a public lesson on the power of strategy, respect, and determination. A few days later, Ethan left Stanton & Company headquarters with his shoulders slumped, his reputation tarnished, and the knowledge that he had just lost more than just a job. He had just lost his credibility. Meanwhile, Olivia consolidated her position, strengthening her strategy and reputation in the industry. Her revenge was complete, elegant, and undeniable. She had turned a personal humiliation into resounding triumph. With the fall of Ethan Caldwell, Olivia Bennet quickly became a key figure in New York finance. Articles in the financial media described her as a brilliant strategist, capable of turning a difficult situation into a resounding success. Clients who followed her silent plan were a testament to her skill, patience, and long-term vision. International investors sought her advice, and her influence now extended far beyond American borders. Olivia, however, remained true to her philosophy, strategy, patience, and respect. She wasn't content to humiliate Ethan. She wanted to show that true power lies not in arrogance, but in the ability to anticipate, plan, and act intelligently. Ethan, meanwhile, was trying to rebuild his career elsewhere, but his tarnished reputation followed him everywhere. He realized, too late, that underestimating someone based on prejudice could be costly, very costly. In her office, Olivia gazed out over Manhattan from her glass-fronted desk, reflecting on how far she'd come. She'd turned anger and humiliation into a strategic victory, proving to everyone that her name, Olivia Bennet, was synonymous with power, respect, and success. She allowed herself a satisfied smile. The lessons had been taught, the mistakes repaired, and her triumph was now indisputable and inspiring for all those who looked at her with admiration. Within weeks of her resounding victory, Olivia Bennet had solidified her position in the financial world. Her strategies had not only solidified her wealth, but had also inspired a new standard of respect and integrity in an industry often dominated by arrogance and blind competition. Ethan Caldwell, meanwhile, was experiencing the consequences of his own arrogance. Clients and investors who had once admired him were turning away, and his name was now synonymous with haste and incompetence. Every attempt to rehabilitate his image failed in the face of the impact of Olivia's strategy. One evening, while pondering his fall, Ethan received a simple message from Olivia. Power is not measured by titles or wealth. It is measured by the ability to anticipate, respect, and act intelligently. I hope you learn a lesson from this. Ethan finally understood that his initial humiliation was not just personal, it was a public and definitive lesson on respect and competence. He realized that underestimating someone based on prejudice, or acting arrogantly, could cost him far more than just a job or a position in a bank. Olivia, for her part, continued on her way, now more respected and influential than ever. Her victory was not just one of personal revenge, it represented the strength of a woman who transforms injustice into triumph, inspiring thousands of people to believe in themselves and never be intimidated. And in this cutthroat world of Wall Street, one thing was certain: Olivia Bennet had definitely changed the rules of the game.